And just like that, the Yankees are hot on the Toronto Blue Jays' tail for the postseason.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. As always, I'm Brayden Iwasko. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Brayden5 Iwasko, Carter First too, as well on our main Twitter account at Locked On Jays. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. And if you're new here to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. You guys have been killing it as of late, but keep that going. You get your shorts, your podcasts, your live streams, the videos, the whole ordeal. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. A ton to get into. Again, randomly, there's always a ton of news in regards to the Toronto Blue Jays, but obviously the big news is that they're one game now up on the New York Yankees after a little bit of a comeback victory they had over the White Sox. We'll get into what happened in the Blue Jays game, a little bit of missed calls, and going into missed calls potentially, the ABS system, automated balls and strike system will be in play for 2026. So we'll talk about that. Also, the DFA of Alek Manoah in corresponding moves, bringing Anthony Santander back to the Toronto Blue Jays, plus what happened to Ty France as well. We'll get into all of that on today's show. But Carter, my man, me and you were in opposing rooms at the time watching the Blue Jays not win that game and the Yankees pull that one out. And I think we both yelled very similar times to when the Yankees did make that comeback, because you're slowly seeing this AL East lead, AL lead slip through the hands of the Toronto Blue Jays pretty much. And again, for a season that you can majorly blame on bullpen issues and sometimes starting pitching problems, this offense has been lackluster, to say the absolute least, lately.
It's kind of when Bichette got hurt is where I started not reaching for the panic button, but started alluding to the fact that, hey, the New York Yankees are 5-6 games back. And without Bichette, that's a lot shorter. Like 6 games seems like a lot, but it can definitely go the wrong way very quickly. And unfortunately, we're kind of seeing that a little bit. And a lot of it, unfortunately, does stem from the offense. Some of it is strength of schedule, some stuff that the Toronto Blue Jays cannot control, but they can control their own destiny right now. We've talked about multiple times that if they go 500, which they still can do, they can go 3-2 over the next 5 games. But you lose the next one. Like, you got Garrett Crochet on the mound the day this podcast comes out. That's not going to be an easy task. You couldn't get to Lucas Giolito, and there's a bunch of pitchers that we're going to go down the list on that we're looking at the Toronto Blue Jays when they faced them recently, and it hasn't gone well consistently for the Toronto Blue Jays. So we talk about momentum. It's all in the New York Yankees' favor right now, and the Toronto Blue Jays not having a lot of momentum whatsoever, losing 5 of their last 6 baseball games.
Yeah, that's something you just can't do down the stretch in a playoff race. You cannot do that. That can't happen. This offense can't go to bed just because Bichette is out of this lineup. Now, obviously, we will talk about the Anthony Santander of it all coming back. Can he help inject some life into this pretty, right now, bad offense? And I hate to do this, and I hate to put this offense on blast, because all season they have been pretty good. But we're getting to a point now where this is the absolute wrong time to take a break, to stop pushing, to stop competing. And that's really what we've seen with this team. And it's pretty disappointing. Now, in this game, Carter, which we will talk about, I think we'll start with the Kevin Gausman of it all. But there was a misfortunate play scenario with George Springer in this one that sort of, I don't want to say killed my hopes, but it seemed like there or never a little bit at the time of that in that ball game. So, but Carter, let's start with Kevin Gausman. His outing today, it wasn't the absolute shellacking show that Kevin Gausman's been putting on lately, but he goes 5 2/3 innings with 9 hits, 4 earned runs, still gets 7 strikeouts and only 1 walk. So it was good to see that the walk really wasn't killing, Kevin Gausman today, because sometimes when you do see Kevin Gausman not competing at his best, it comes from the base on balls, and that's usually what ends up hurting a lot of the Toronto Blue Jays pitching staff. But it really wasn't that today.
Yeah, for me, we talked a lot about Kevin Gausman and his ability to just be at his best point, be at his strongest point late on in the season. We talked about how his velocities stayed up throughout September and then throughout starts as well. That he's throwing 97 in the first inning. He's also throwing 97 in the sixth inning. The pitches have been moving. We've seen a lot of good things from Kevin Gausman. But in this game, I think where it stemmed from was the splitter. It stopped splitting as much. It stopped falling off the face of the earth. We started to lose the movement a little bit throughout this start, and you really noticed it throughout the Carlos Narvaez at bat, taking obviously the splitter down in the zone, really stayed on it the entire time. Very good swing, pretty good pitch as well. It's not really the movement that you wanted to see from Gausman early on. Like, the Red Sox know who Kevin Gausman is at this point. They have a very good game plan against him. They know how they're going to attack him, but that doesn't stop any other team. Like, every team knows how Kevin Gausman is going to attack him. Unfortunately for Gausman, when you rely predominantly on two pitches and you start to lose one, that's where you're going to start to run into some trouble. So that's where it really stemmed for me with Kevin Gausman. It was the splitter later on in games, and that's unfortunately how it's going to be in some outings. And that's why in the playoffs, whether it's Kevin Gausman or whether it's Jose Berrios, no matter who it is, I want these guys to have a short leash. And if this is the playoffs, you probably pulled Kevin Gausman a little bit earlier than that. I think it was relatively obvious, at least to a lot of the Toronto Blue Jays management and the front office people. John Schneider looked like he was looking a little bit more intently, along with Pete Walker, at Kevin Gausman throughout this start. So again, I think they mismanaged this a little bit differently if it's the playoffs. But it is, again, it's a big series. I get it, but you still have to get your guys through their starts. Kevin Gausman didn't look out of control, and he is your guy that you want to trust in a game one scenario. So I don't mind letting him kind of work it out. Just it's a little bit unfortunate for Kevin Gausman, but still not worried. Just unfortunate with the Yankees winning and just the way the offense didn't show up whatsoever. And that earlier call, which George Springer, which I kind of want to get into after you react to this. But yeah, it's just unfortunate circumstances for really everyone involved in this game.
Yeah, it really was. And I don't put this game on Kevin Gausman. You can't when the offense shows up and gives you 3 hits. It doesn't matter how good Kevin Gausman would have done. The Blue Jays weren't going to win this ball game with this amount of offense. And yes, it wasn't his best start, but I'm not hitting the panic button over Kevin Gausman giving up 4 runs in this one. I think he was still somewhat competitive, at least in the first few innings that he was out there. I think he looked really good, actually, in the first few innings. I think that everything was moving as it should. And like you said, it just was. The splitter just stopped. It just stopped working. And that's what happened. And you honestly hit the nail on the head. In a playoff situation, this is probably managed a little bit differently, or you'd hope that it would have been managed differently. But at this point, you're wanting Kevin Gausman to go out there, keep the feel, keep it moving, because who knows? He may not start again this season before the playoffs.
Oh, he won't.
It's going to come down to where they are at in the schedule. Have they clinched? Have they not clinched? Have they fallen off? And does Kevin Gausman want if they do end up moving on and not having to play in a wild card series, maybe Kevin Gausman doesn't want to sit there and wait that many days. So maybe he will pitch that final game, but it's all going to be circumstances. I think at the end of the day, he probably won't, but it's up to Kevin Gausman. So they wanted to give him the innings today as much as they could probably. But Carter, I'll send it over to you. I know we both had not great reactions to the whole George Springer play when the Toronto Blue Jays didn't get that call. And there are already people on TikTok making fun of the fact that the Blue Jays seeming like they are not getting any calls as of late. I've seen now, I literally after the game went on TikTok for like 3 seconds and I saw 2 different videos talking about the Toronto Blue Jays not getting calls, and rightfully so.
Yeah, there's been 3 bad ones recently, but just quickly going back to Kevin Gausman, is you're right. Yeah, if there's games that have any meaning, like if this comes down to the last game of the year, and the AL East is still on the line, like yes, if Kevin Gausman is going to be available, he's going to pitch for this team. If he's your game 1 playoff starter, he's going to be the starter that I want to lock up the American League East. Again, hopefully it doesn't come down to that. If they have anything locked up whatsoever, this is Kevin Gausman's last start. But yeah, I mean, it's only time will tell if you're going to need Kevin Gausman again, but hopefully not. And hopefully this was his last start of the season. And the next one will be coming in game 1 of the American League Divisional Series. But you talk about a game of baseball. Like, let's talk about what we've looked at this team and what it's done, especially with the offense not really showing up recently. It's one moment and one swing can really change a ball game. And one moment seemed like, again, in this game really changed the ball game. We looked at previously the Nathan Lucas home run call against the Rays. Oh, the ball would have been a home run anyway, so we're going to cut it, even though the fan interfered, but it would have been a home run, so we're going to keep it as a home run. looked pretty clear to me that Nathan Lucas at least had a pretty good shot at it. The Daulton Varsho catch, which was, for me, might be still the worst one, I think, out of all three of these ones, because that one was absolutely egregious. A ball that, in my opinion, clearly caught, and somehow not enough evidence to overturn it. And now you have George Springer in the second inning. Bases loaded. Big moment in the game, obviously. You are down 1-0 to the Boston Red Sox. George Springer, your hottest hitter right now, by far, up to the plate. It's a ball down the third base line, live right away again. The last times, and like the 3 times this has happened, this has been, I think, the one for sure for me where I'm like, live, I'm like, this looks like a fair ball. I said that with the Varsho one, I was pretty certain. This one, I was fully on certain. It looked like a fair ball right off the bat. And you can tell by George Springer's reaction, he did as well, because he was very fired up. You see the replay. It looks like, again, it's hard to tell from the angle that we got, because like you're looking from the home plate at third base from the angle that we saw on the broadcast. Again, even from that angle, looks like the ball is holding onto the line farther than third base, like egregiously farther than third base. Again, third base umpire not making the call. And then in George Springer's luck, you get a pitch on the outside corner. Maybe not as bad if, like, again, depending on the scenario, if this didn't happen, but you get back-to-back calls against George Springer that does not go his way. He slams the bat down. He's bashing his helmet on in the dugout on the equipment rack. Like, again, for good reason, like nothing against George Springer at all, but that's 3 separate times, 2 for sure. Like, I am dead set on 2. The Nathan Lucas one, a little bit more arbitrary, whatever. We'll throw it in for this one. It seems like everything is going against the Toronto Blue Jays right now. And we talk about momentum and a momentum swing within a baseball game. That's a 2-run double for sure. Debatably a bases clearing double, which would have put the Toronto Blue Jays up 3-1. When the offense isn't hitting, and then you have moments like this that are continuously falling out of your favor and going against you, man, it is a rough spot to be in. And fans are rightfully enraged. And it's just getting ridiculous at this point how often this is happening, and just like the current situation the Toronto Blue Jays are in. Of course, this is happening right now when the Toronto Blue Jays are trying their hardest to lock up the American League East. And who would have thought that things aren't really going according to plan?
Carter, so I got a TV beside me.
It looked like you saw something there.
And just because I was hoping that, I'd be able to get another look at the George Springer hit. As you were talking about that, I just got another look at that George Springer hit. It is unbelievable.
I don't
that ball to me is a fair ball. This is disgusting again, because this takes away one moment in a baseball game, right? One moment changes the entire game. That's the game of baseball. This happens. One catch, one hit, one, diving play, one scoop at first base. Everything can change just like that. Momentum shifts with one play of the game. And for this to be taken away from the Blue Jays again and again and again, I'm sitting here being very frustrated. And again, I want to say this. This offense did not do well enough to win a baseball game. But it probably helps if you're up 3-1 at that point instead of being 1-1, right? This is a completely different ball game. Things could go completely differently. But because that's taken off, now you're sitting back and you're having to watch the Red Sox go up on you. And after you just had bases loaded, probably 2 runs scoring, you said 3. I think the direction of that ball, I think, was probably off the corner, probably just 2, but maybe 3. And Carter, I'm getting very exhausted. And I feel like in sports at this point, there should be an easier way to tell this, right? Like, why is there not a pinpoint line on the base paths or on the baselines that you see, or the fair and foul line, that you can tell there's a chip on the ball, chip on the line, a camera angle down the line, right specifically down, so you can tell? Why are there not these things? This is the major leagues. This stuff, to me, at this point, seems easy enough to do. And why is it not being implemented? I don't know. That you should be able to tell, right? In football, did this ball get over the yard marker that it needs to be? These couple things do not seem that difficult to implement. And it just hasn't been done yet. And instead, we're going to talk balls, the automated balls and strike system, which I think for this Toronto Blue Jays team is a very good thing. And for a lot of the time, people are going to argue it. I'll get into that later. Actually, I don't even want to talk about it right now. I'm just very, very frustrated with the amount that this has happened over the past little bit. And rightfully so, George Springer gets mad. I'm totally on board. Honestly, I would have been, a little bit of me was thinking John Schneider go out there and get tossed. I would have been okay with it. I think I don't know if it helps at that point. I don't think it really does.
Well, we saw what happened when he did it for David Schneider in the home run.
Exactly.
Right after. I mean, ball don't lie. Maybe it would have been another one of those ball don't lie moments. But
Maybe.
the biggest issue with this whole thing is that everything is trending towards being reviewed, and you're reviewing every single moment in baseball, but you can't review a fair foul call down the line. Like, that's a play that's not reviewable all of a sudden. That's where I don't understand this whatsoever. When you're trying to take the game out of the umpire's hands initially, why not review that play as well? And like, you're in a very good spot. Like, the call is the ball over the third base bag at the point where it's passing third base, like before you have the line and whatever. After that, again, it's a little bit of an arbitrary call. It's more discretion. And these discretionary calls is where you start to have these conflicts. Again, look to me very obvious. If you have the replay and review system on that call, you probably get it reversed. But look at the Daulton Varsho call, where that one, you have the replay review system and it still doesn't go your way. So nothing's like concrete at this point. It just seems like you have no consistency with a lot of the calls. And like, you can't fault the third base umpire's positioning because he's right in front of the ball. And again, maybe his angle, there's something different there. But everything that we saw from the broadcast and the angles they gave us looked like it was pretty obvious with another call that probably should have went the Toronto Blue Jays way. So it's just absolutely insane how it's just, we can't seem to get anything. But at the end of the day, for me, like we're talking, this is going to transition very beautifully into our second segment, but these really don't matter if the offense can actually hit, if the offense can produce more than 3 hits. Because even like in that second inning, the way they got into that position, it's walk, error from the Boston Red Sox. They should have been it's a force play of 2. I think it's Trevor Story again. He had multiple players in this game, just drops the ball. Don't know how that's going to happen. Like, that's one thing that's nice when the Toronto Blue Jays play the Red Sox or the Yankees, obviously, is you see a lot of defensive mishaps. So they're going to try to help you out as much as they can. They definitely did there. The umpires not helping the Blue Jays out whatsoever. But yeah, you get 3 hits in the game. Like, that helps a lot. And obviously you want that to go in your direction, but for long-term success, like this, like the Toronto Blue Jays are not setting themselves up at all right now offensively.
Yeah, if that George Springer play happens, we're probably looking back at this as a 4-hit ball game, and maybe the Blue Jays win 3-2, and we're like, well, it's great, but they probably don't deserve that win, right?
Well, I mean, right now, who cares if you deserve it? You just want the win. Like, there's 6 games left. Every win matters.
Absolutely. But I'm saying at the end of the day, this team needs to do more. So it doesn't really, that play matters, but at the end of the day, you can't be dragging this 3-hit ball club into the playoffs and expecting them to do anything. So for long-term success, we need to see this offense do more. And that's where we're going to take this conversation right after this break. We're going to talk about the offense and sort of, I know, Carter, you have a bunch of points written down. We're going to talk about the ABS balls and strike system coming into play. And then a third segment, obviously, we're going to talk Alek Manoah being DFA'd, Anthony Santander bringing him back up, and what happened to Ty France as well. Stay with us right after this short break.
Today's episode is sponsored by Bichette. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something more than the usual pill, it's time to meet Bichette Go Long. This isn't just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for your confidence. Bichette Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in a dual-action formula so you can get hard and go the distance. The process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to rugiet.com and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 15% off your first order. That is rugiet.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Make sure to use your code so they know that we sent you.
Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. You guys know I love Game Time. I talk about it all the time. It's the only place that I go to buy my tickets. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live, the energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person. But actually getting the tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees. Sort of takes all the fun out of it. And you know what? The surprise fees, that really kills. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. That's the best part. I can't stand going to the checkout. Oh, it's an extra $20. Oh, it's an extra $30. Game Time does not let that happen. What you see when you press on the ticket is the price you're going to pay. That's why it is the best app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. So, Carter, continuing on, obviously, we have a lot to talk about in the offense, but we will talk about a little bit about the automated balls and strike system coming into play. But I know you have a lot of statistics on some guys in the last 6 games that you want to really cover, or September ball, because the offense has been lackluster. We went pretty hard on the bullpen in all of August for how bad they were. Well, has the offense been that bad, Carter?
Well, and it's really been everybody in the last 6 days. So I'm not even going to go into it individually for that. I'm just going to go into some individual stats among September, a very important month in baseball when you're trying to clinch the American League East and you're trying to get a bye for the playoffs and not have to play in the wild card round, which has given this team a little bit of trouble, obviously, in these last couple of seasons. But just looking at what the Toronto Blue Jays have done over their last 6 games, you could argue that these are some of the most important 6 games of this entire season. And the Toronto Blue Jays offense has able to muster it up. I'll go from the game that was just played all the way back to the previous 6 games. So they got 1 run, obviously 3 hits in this game against the Boston Red Sox. Then you have a very good game where they obviously clinch the playoffs. A lot of fun to watch there. 8 runs scored, 12 hits. But then before that, you have 1 run against the Royals and 4 hits. Before that, you lose 20-1 against the Kansas City Royals. Maybe give the offense a little bit here, but with the stretch that they were on, kind of just makes sense with the way they were playing. 3 hits here, only 1 run scored. You have 4 hits against the Tampa Bay Rays in that third game. You score 0 runs. In the second game, you lose 2-1. Ian Seymour absolutely dominates you. You get 4 hits. You score 1 run. Common theme over those last 6 games, really, other than the one. It's like you can look at the last 7 games that were okay against the Baltimore Orioles. It boosts the stats a little bit. But when you're trying to, clinch the American League East, you're playing some of the most important baseball of the season. And not only that, is that you being hot and going into the playoffs playing a good brand of baseball matters a ton. We've seen teams that have just barely squeaked in the playoffs and made the wild card, absolutely dominate the wild card series, go and sweep the ALDS and go on a very deep playoff run. So the record kind of gets scrapped as soon as you make the playoffs. Yes, there's advantages to being on certain sides of the brackets, obviously getting buys, who you play, different advantages there, but really you just want to make the dance and you want to be playing your best caliber of baseball. And this offense, really since Bichette has gone out, has not been playing a good caliber of baseball. You look at some of these guys that are supposed to be carrying the offense. George Springer has been carrying the offense, so I'm not going to throw any shade at him. His OPS is like 1,100 in the month of September. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hasn't necessarily been that bad either. It's just been more so in this recent stretch over the last 5 games or so. Hasn't really been that good. Over September at 895 OPS. Again, you're just looking for that big hit from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Looking at a guy like Alejandro Kirk, a guy that's been very good for this team, a 189 average in September, a 569 OPS. Daulton Varsho hasn't been that bad, 794 OPS. David Schneider, a guy that was taking a lot of strides. At this point, you want him to be in the lineup a lot. 611 OPS in September, 194 average. Addison Barzhu, who has really fallen off, not the face of the earth, but has fallen off a lot in the last kind of 2 months or so. A 630 OPS in September. Nathan Lucas, a 547 OPS. Ernie Clement hasn't been bad either, 741 OPS. But a lot of these guys, at least have been carrying you throughout the season, are starting to falter a little bit. And these aren't guys you necessarily want to rely on. But when you have Bichette out, when you have a guy like Ty France now, who again, who is injured now, wasn't necessarily carrying the offense or expected to. Santander back now. Can he help this offense out? For sure. He definitely has the ability to. Will he? That's a big question. But even with Bichette back, yes, Bichette needs to hit, but you're going to need Alejandro Kirk to step it up. You're going to need Addison Barzhu to step it up, David Schneider, Ernie Clement, Nathan Lucas, some of these guys that even if you get Bichette and Santander back, these guys are still going to be playing almost every single day. So at this point, it doesn't matter who you are on this baseball team. You're going to have to show up and you're going to have to get hits when it matters. It all does start from the top. But now at this point, it's the all-in-one mentality that we've had this entire season. It really needs to hold true in these last 5 games into the playoffs as well.
Carter, this is something that, me and you have preached forever, right? It's going back to last season, if you want to. It's riding the hot hand and playing who's hot, but you can't have 5 empty spots on a lineup because, so many of your guys are not being hot towards the end of the season in the biggest moments, in the biggest time of the year. And this is something I think we talked about in an episode prior, was the fact that you want to be playing your best brand of baseball as you enter the playoffs. Now, don't get me wrong. I totally get the point that these guys are exhausted, that it has been a long season, but everybody's exhausted. You know what I mean? You have to push through that. You have to be able to outperform everybody else if you want to be the team that, hoists the trophy at the end of the year. And right now, Carter, I'm shaking in my boots over here with the Yankees storming back. I think if this team ends up not getting the bye at this point and losing out the AL East to the New York Yankees, I don't think they go very far in this playoffs. And it's going to come down to not getting that much needed rest that brings back a guy like Bo Bichette. I think the more and more that this team plays without Bo Bichette, the more and more everybody and their mom realizes how important Bo Bichette is to the success of this baseball team. And I will be the one on the top of the hill hollering to give Bo Bichette a contract because the Blue Jays need to keep this guy around. I think Bo Bichette is and will be the driving force of this offense for years to come. Without him, I don't really know that they have the guys and the capability to get to that next level. And as much as I love Vladdy, and Vladdy is a big time player, it's different. It's big time in different ways, right? Bo Bichette is the epitome of consistency almost. You know exactly what you're going to get from Bo Bichette. It's a ton of hits. It's a ton of doubles. Yes, he's not going to smack 40 home runs, but he is going to be a driving force for the offense. And now we're seeing it. And you know what, Carter? It goes back to what happened to this bullpen. And again, a little funny here, but without Brayden Fisher in this bullpen, they stunk real bad. They bring Brayden Fisher back. Wow, this bullpen is doing a lot better. Oh my goodness, what is happening to this offense without Bo Bichette? It's losing an integral piece of this team. And it's showing in spades right now, Carter.
See, and I hate doing this because I'm going to give the Vladdy haters a little bit more ammo here, but it sucks when you feel like you need another guy in the offense, when you're paying a guy $500 million, or you need an extra guy to drive in runs, that extra guy to, come up in big scenarios. When you're already allocating that significant amount of money to some guy, like he's supposed to be doing all those things. He's supposed to be your best hitter on the team. So when you see how like this offense transfers and it completely shifts when Bo Bichette is not in this offense and not in the lineup, it does a couple things. One, it exposes some of the other guys on the Toronto Blue Jays that are supposed to be carrying the offense. And the second thing is it might give us a little bit of a sneak peek on what this offense could look like next season if Bo Bichette does not re-sign with the Toronto Blue Jays team. Again, we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but this is something that it might be very real, and it will be a very big talking point, obviously, probably the main one of the entire offseason, at least for the Toronto Blue Jays. It will be Bo Bichette and how this team is affected, whether he does re-sign or does not re-sign. So you're seeing the whole, obviously, right now without Bo Bichette in the lineup. Yes, you're going to see that with any good player, but you're really seeing what Bo Bichette is the best at. And you're seeing the Toronto Blue Jays struggle getting that clutch hit without their best player in those clutch scenarios in Bo Bichette. So it's a scary place to be with the Toronto Blue Jays, with more and more uncertainty as we continue on down the stretch. Some of it for good, but a lot of it for bad as well.
Yeah, Carter, you know what? And there's a lot more I wanted to get into on this episode. Obviously, the automated balls and strike system, which sort of relays right into a little bit of what we're talking about with George Springer. David Schneider, I swear, gets screwed on a call every third at bat that he's in. And it's not like a ball that's crazy outside, but it's just off the plate that, hey, with the automated balls and strike system, he would get that call. We'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. Just as, there's so much to talk about today. We're going to have to push something, and that's not something that's immediately affecting the Toronto Blue Jays. So we'll push that to tomorrow or the next day. We'll chat about it sometime this week because we have to talk about the DFAing of Alek Manoah, Anthony Santander returning to the team, and what's going on with Ty France. So we'll come back, Carter. I think we'll talk all about those three guys in particular right after this short break. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. You guys know how much I love FanDuel because it is my premier place to place my bets. I had a bunch of buddies ask me the other day because, NFL season starting up. They're like, what's that? What's the FanDuel deal? I got to get in on this. And so with the NFL season being here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. $300 is crazy. That's like free money. I do a pick segment on this show as well. And so every week I'm on there making my picks, trying to figure out what the best deal is, what's the best line for the NFL. So FanDuel is a great place to place your bets. And I mean, that's just an unbeatable offer. So are you ready to play? Download FanDuel app today now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. So, Carter, obviously the big talking point, right? The guy that we thought, hey, if we can just survive until we get him back, right, at the beginning of the season, and, we're all laughing about it now, but Alek Manoah gets DFA'd for the Toronto Blue Jays in a corresponding move to bring Anthony Santander back to this team, which at this point, Carter, I'm like, try anything. Get Anthony Santander back in this lineup. This team needs a spark, and hopefully he is. He's, actually looked pretty good in his AAA appearances, so hopefully he can carry that over to the MLB level, but there is nothing for sure. So, Manoah's disappointed. That's what Atkins had to come out and say about him. But this is where it's going. And I really had high hopes for an Alek Manoah return, but this is where it's at. And Carter, this isn't saying that a team is going to go and pick him up and that he will be on somebody's roster and the Blue Jays are going to lose him completely, but it's a high possibility right now.
Yeah, he's not going to be added by a playoff team and then pitch for them in the playoffs. This DFA means Alek Manoah is not going to help the Toronto Blue Jays here in 2025. We've seen it with Trey Savage, the kind of this notion to abandon the safety net and really go all in for it. Alek Manoah isn't going to help this year. I mean, and you need that roster spot. Anthony Santander can actually help this year, obviously. Alek Manoah can't. And clearly, Alek Manoah has not been very good in the minor leagues. The ERA, again, it's not really there. 5.86 FIP. Over 38.2 minor league innings. The velocity a little bit lower, 2 to 3 miles per hour lower than where we saw it in those 2023, even 2024 when he pitched a little bit for the Toronto Blue Jays. But yeah, it's out of nowhere, a little bit surprising. You've lost Orelvis Martinez and Alek Manoah, two guys 3-4 years ago, or they're your top guys. They're your top prospects, guys that were supposed to be the future of the Toronto Blue Jays. So again, it's just crazy how quickly baseball can change. But I think we'll talk a lot more about Alek Manoah, in the offseason. Obviously, the impact of that. He definitely can come back with his team in spring training. I think a lot of it will depend on whether he gets a minor league, major league offer. Obviously, the recovery throughout the summer. Maybe the velocity ramps back up. Maybe he shows other teams a little bit more. But that's the thing. He's going to get interest from the Toronto Blue Jays. He's going to show the Toronto Blue Jays something. He's probably showing other teams some stuff as well. So I don't think he's not going to get claimed. He won't be a part of any team this year. But yeah, it's a weird thing for next year where you thought Alek Manoah would be one of those guys to replace probably Chris Bassitt. Now there's another opening. I think that suggests the Toronto Blue Jays might be pretty aggressive in the starting rotation market. Again, more of an offseason topic, but an interesting move with the Alek Manoah DFA. Anthony Santander being an option off the bench tonight. You saw him with a batting helmet on at some points as well. But before we get into the Santander of it all. I'll just quickly go into the Ty France of it. Placed on a 10-day IL, left oblique inflammation. They seemed pretty vague about this. They didn't seem like they knew exactly how bad it was. This makes it Ty France obviously unavailable for the rest of the regular season. They make him unavailable for the wild card series as well. So that is interesting to see how they would deal with that, and maybe could come back for a third game depending on where the dates line up, but definitely would not be available for the first game. So the Toronto Blue Jays obviously really banking on that buy for Bichette. I thought it'd be for Anthony Santander, not anymore, but Chris Bassitt's another guy. You got some guys that they would definitely benefit a whole lot if you if you were able to wait until that ALDS series to play your first round of playoff baseball. But into kind of the meat and potatoes of it all, and the thing that maybe people will be the most excited about, I mean, Alek Manoah is obviously a big part of this as well. But Anthony Santander being reinstated and is able to hit for the Toronto Blue Jays. Multiple reports have said that he has felt better swinging from the left side opposed to the right side, but he has the ability to swing from both sides. I guess the biggest question with Anthony Santander is, and I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to answer this because it's been a long time since we've seen him, but what's your expectation for Anthony Santander? Is this a guy you throw immediately in that number 4 spot with things not going very well? You start him in the middle of the order, 5 or 6. Do you maybe start him at 7? Is he playing every day? Where do you even start this whole Anthony Santander saga?
You can't start him at 4. You can't, especially in his first game back. You just can't do that. But I think it could ramp up very quickly if you start to see a little bit of production from him. And I think that's at this point what you expect, because
But I mean, you're going to have to ramp him up quickly. You got 5 days to figure it
that's
out.
right.
Like,
that's right. So by the end of game 3, I think you could his return, he very well could be in the 4th spot if this offense continues to struggle and he's showing some promise here. So I don't think it's out of the question. This team needs a spark, and you got to hope that he is. Carter, I just saw another video of the George Springer thing, by the way. TSN drew a line. And like followed the pitch. It was a fair ball.
Oh, I mean, I could have told you that when I saw it live. Like,
yeah,
it's,
but,
again,
yeah.
But it's pretty much like 100% like conclusive. Like, this was a fair ball.
It caught probably this much of the plate, but it was a fair
ball. So I'll give the umpire a little bit of grace here. I know it sucks for the moment, but if it's that close, I mean, it looked like it was like almost a base. Like it was the full base that they had this fair call by. That's going to be a memory that's living in the back of our heads, depending on, I guess, how this season goes. Hopefully it's one you can quickly forget about. But yeah, that would be one moment where if things don't necessarily go that well, you're probably thinking a little bit of that. But with Anthony Santander, just quickly going back to that, like, he has to be in the lineup today, right? Like, the day this comes out, it has to be in the lineup.
Absolutely. There's no hold bars here. You need to get all of these guys ramped up. If you are going to be in a wild card, which please to Jesus Christ that you're not, but in that case, you need Anthony Santander. You need the home run ball, because, man, it doesn't look like anybody else is delivering anything right now. So you need that one big swing of the bat. You need this guy in there. And whatever he can give you right now, you better be happy about it, because goodness sakes, it looks horrible these last few games. Yeah, Carter, I don't know. I'm interested. I want to see how this team responds. We've talked about their resilience and their grittiness to be able to bounce back. This offense hasn't looked like it's had the bounce back. So I'm getting worried, right? Like, I know where the panic button is in the room. And I'm starting to be very concerned, especially with all these players going out on injury now too. I mean, you got Ty France there as well. You're losing a lot of pieces, and the break would be crucial for this Toronto Blue Jays team. So yeah, it's going to be a few interesting days for baseball here. You got to go up against Garrett Crochet, and that is not going to be a lick of fun here, Carter.
Well, and the Toronto Blue Jays have Max Scherzer on the mound, and guess how that went for them the last time out. So again, things have looked better before in Toronto Blue Jays land. They are still 1 game up on the New York Yankees, technically 2, because they hold the tiebreaker. Yeah. But again, we've seen how quickly those games can dwindle, especially if you are not going to take care of business against the Boston Red Sox. But like we said, Garrett Crochet versus Max Scherzer, you got to hope that Anthony Santander is somewhere in this lineup. But like right now, the way players are hitting, like the expectation for Anthony Santander, if you can get 1 hit, like you're pretty happy with that. I don't think it's out of the question that this guy hits 4, because who else? Like, who else is going to hit 4? Probably, like, you probably still prefer Varsho. But the thing is, Crochet's a lefty. Like, Varsho's not hitting 4 against a lefty.
Yeah.
So who do you got in there? Like, it might be Anthony Santander. You got Vladdy at 3. You probably have David Schneider at 2. I think at this point, maybe it's Ernie Clement, but I think it's David Schneider, George Springer at 1. Like Alejandro Kirk maybe at 4, and then Santander at 5. Like, at this point, there's not a lot of options.
No, you're
Especially
right.
with the way people are playing. Like,
you're right. That's it, right? Who's going to give you the best option right now? And it doesn't look like anybody else is showing up, so why not throw him in there?
We'll have to wait and see. Throw him in there. Let him hit 2. Screw it.
Double threat.
I don't know, man. We've got to see something. They got to give us something positive to talk about. How quickly things can change in Toronto Blue Jays line. Like, the sky is falling. It maybe is a little bit here, but things can change a whole lot if you win the next 2 games of the series. You beat Garrett Crochet. You tie up the series and give yourself a chance to win the series, and then the White Sox can help you out a little bit. That didn't go very well in the first game of the series. But again, like, you can't get upset about the White Sox losing. Like, that's not what their expectation is. Maybe take 1, like you want them to take 1 for sure, but the Toronto Blue Jays are in a spot where they control their own destiny. How about you control it? How about you man up and show up for the moment and actually win yourself the American League East and earn yourself that bye? Because that's the biggest thing about the wild card. It's not that they wouldn't have a chance against whoever they're playing. It's just if they end up in the wild card, it means that they've lost a lot to the Red Sox and the Rays. That probably means their offense isn't playing that well. And then that means you're not going to have Chris Bassitt in that wild card series. You're not going to have a lot of these other guys. Anthony Santander is going to be rushed. You don't have as much time with Trey Savage. Ty France is like, there's just a lot that obviously is benefited by winning the American League East. That is still the goal. That is still the expectation, but it's getting a little bit tighter as we continue on down the stretch. Only 5 games remaining, and every game matters a ton.
Oh, dude, I'm sitting here and I'm nervous. I'm not gonna lie to you. I hate being this way, right? I don't want to be upset about this team. They are in a position to make the playoffs and do something, but the signs are there that can this come crashing down? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. We'll talk more about this tomorrow.
Sorry to interrupt one last time. This is the last thing that I'm going to say, at least. We've been pretty good at like keeping even keel, like keeping like an even temperament when things don't go well on this podcast. But now there's 5 games left. Like these games matter a ton, obviously. I think like that's out the window. Like you live and die with every game at this point because every game feels like playoff baseball and every game is so significant to what the Toronto Blue Jays are trying to accomplish. So I think that kind of mentality is out the window, at least for this podcast.
I was going to say, except it really doesn't feel like playoff baseball. That did not feel like playoff baseball.
Like it's a playoff atmosphere, but like the caliber, I mean, that's felt like how the Toronto Blue Jays have played in the playoffs the last couple of seasons.
Yeah,
that's
true.
Not how I want to feel again.
Maybe it is. Yeah. All right. Well, we're out of here for today, but everybody please come back tomorrow. We're going to talk balls and strike system as well as the fallout from the game. So make sure you guys stay tuned for all of that. A lot more to come. This Toronto Blue Jays team will be in the playoffs one way or another. We will have it all covered here on Locked On Blue Jays. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Leave us a comment about everything we talked about today, and we'll be back with you guys tomorrow.